From our studio in Georgetown, this is the TV Delmarva Channel 14 News at 4.
Hello and thank you for tuning in to TV Delmarva Channel 14 News. Straight ahead, a Kent County grand jury has re-indicted Delaware State Auditor Kathy McGuiness after the case was dismissed in Newcastle County. A Seaford graduation ceremony is tarnished by a fight that broke out among adults, and police need help to investigate the incident. And a popular fishing bait is facing chain supply issues. We visit with an area bait shop to talk about what is going on. These stories and more are coming up, but weather first with meteorologist Hunter Outen.
Well, hello and good Tuesday, Delmarva. We've had another day filled with sunshine, comfortable temperatures, but it has been a little bit on the breezy side as we get into the afternoon hours. Taking a live look outside of TV Delmarva Studios here in Georgetown. We have the sunshine. We have a couple of some cumulus clouds out there, and if you notice a little bit of the shaking on our camera, because it has been a little bit on the breezy side, especially the closer we get towards the Atlantic coast. Currently, right now, 80 degrees in Georgetown. Take a look at some satellite and radar now. We are expecting the clouds to be continuing on the increase throughout the rest of this afternoon into the evening hours, and even bringing up the chances of some scattered showers. We already have some showers beginning to move in across areas of Washington, D.C. and getting ready to head into the Baltimore Metroplex area. Now, that will be continuing throughout the evening hours. We're going to have some off and on rain chances here and there, relatively light in nature, but we do get a bigger chance of those rain showers and even some thunderstorms once we get into the overnight hours Wednesday into Thursday, where we could be looking at some fairly heavy rainfall at times too. Alrighty, let's have a look at those conditions elsewhere on Delmarva this afternoon. Once again, temperatures are about the same around this time yesterday across areas of Delmarva. Currently 81 in Salisbury, 80 degrees for Pocomoke City. A little bit cooler in Ocean City is 72 with that onshore breeze from the south. 81 for Easton, 82 for Centerville, 83 in Dover, 80 degrees in Wilmington, and currently 79 degrees up north in Newark. Taking a look at the dew points, we're starting to see an increase in that moisture in the atmosphere. No surprise with that showers in the vicinity. Dew points in the low to mid 60s for the most part, but they will be on the increase once we get into the overnight hours tonight, and as well as those temperatures as well. Take a look at the winds across the region. Sustained has been a little bit stronger today from the south, on average between about 10 and 15 miles per hour, but we have been seeing some wind gusts get as high as 25 and even 30 in some locations. Currently gusting to 21 right now in Georgetown, 18 for Salisbury, 20 miles per hour in Ocean City, 20 as well for Dover, 22 for Centerville, and currently gusting to 22 miles per hour as well in Newark. Now, we do have the chance of rain for the overnight hours tonight. We do get a break during the daytime hours at least, but we'll have to watch out for the early afternoon hours and maybe a few pop-up thunderstorms along a sea breeze. But the greater threat for some showers and some numerous thunderstorms as well will be in the forecast going into the overnight hours tomorrow night into Thursday. And I have all the details regarding that here in just a little bit.
Democratic State Auditor Kathy McGuiness was quickly re-indicted by a grand jury in Kent County on Monday. The move comes after McGuinness's attorney, Steve Wood, motioned that the case should be tried in Kent County because that is where the alleged crimes took place. Judge William C. Carpenter dismissed the case prior to her trial starting, and the case was brought to the Kent County grand jury on June 6. According to the 13-page indictment, McGuiness is accused of official misconduct, which is a misdemeanor, felony theft, structuring, which is non-compliance with procurement law, which is a misdemeanor, and act of intimidation, which is a felony. Now, these are the same charges that were in the initial indictment up in Newcastle County. McGuiness has long maintained her innocence and continues to work as state auditor via a statement from her attorney after the initial indictment, which was handed down in October of 2021. Her trial date is to be determined. Full details of the story, as well as the indictment document, is on our website at tvdelmarva.com. Well, Seaford Police are investigating what caused a fight to break out at a middle school celebration on Monday night. Officials say just after 7 p.m. last night, the fight broke out between adults at the Seaford High School football stadium during a middle school bridge ceremony. The altercation resulted in 2 people being transported to a nearby hospital for minor injuries. It took officers about 20 minutes to control the fight. Anyone with information that could help the investigation is asked to contact Seaford Police at 302-629-6645. Also in Seaford, a man has been arrested after leading police on a pursuit early Sunday morning. Delaware State Police say a trooper attempted to stop 37-year-old Dontra Batson after he was observed traveling at a high rate of speed in his blue Ford Escape on southbound Sussex Highway near Concord Road. Now, Batson allegedly led the pursuit down Concord Road, where he struck a home on Haven Drive and fled on foot. Now, officers chased him down and apprehended him without further incident. A further investigation determined that Batson was impaired. Officers also found 2.89 grams of marijuana and 0.15 grams of cocaine. A Ruger 9mm handgun was also found, and a computer check showed Batson was a convicted felon prohibited from having a firearm. He was transported to Troop 5 and charged with several offenses, including possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony and other drug and traffic-related charges. He was lodged at Sussex Correctional Institute on $23,850 cash bond. Well, chain supply issues have affected all of us this year, including local bait shops of all things, when it comes to certain baits. Bloodworms. Now, if you don't know, bloodworms are these little critters. They are a popular bait for fishermen in Delaware this time of year, but there's now a nationwide shortage of those as well. We spoke to Clark Evans with Old Inlet Bait and Tackle as to why there's an issue.
We're hearing the resources depleted, and that has caused the pickers to not want to be as active in their picking because it's just not worth it to them. Some days we've heard that they come back with 80 worms someday, and that's just not a good way to make it, because it's piecework. And so it's just not become viable to them. And then you also have, people that there's a worker shortage. So then another interesting thing that happens with bloodworms is there's a huge tidal variation up in those areas where the tide can be 10, 12 feet different, and they have to pick them during the day. And so if that tide cycle occurs during the best time of the day to go pick worms, that means you get a down week where there's not as many worms in the system. So what we're hearing in the supply chain, I should say. So what we're hearing like this week is we're going to get a few this week. In a standard order for me, this would be close to 120 dozen bloodworms.
Evans says a great alternative that works is fish bites and other synthetic baits, which work pretty well in the summer.
So a synthetic bloodworm out there, 2 different companies make fish bites and also Berkeley Gulp. So we're able to say, hey, go that direction and use the synthetics. The other is that there's some other types of worms that are being sold. One of them's a lugworm. We have been kind of not very willing to bring in lugworms. They're imported from another country. I don't exactly know where they come from. So we're concerned with the invasive species aspect of that, just like where hot green crabs have kind of taken over some areas now. Where's that going to end up? And then we're looking at the lugworm the same way. Just like in the past, there's also been what's been called a nuclear worm, big green giant worm. We've tried to sell them a little bit, a little uncomfortable with the invasive species aspect of that.
It's unknown how long the shortage will last, but Evans says he's preparing in case the shortage of bloodworms begins to affect synthetic bait supplies. Coming up, gas prices are at an all-time high across the nation, including Delaware, where we hit $5 a gallon in some areas. The full story when we come back. Well, gas prices continue to hurt wallets of Americans across the country, including here in the first state, where the price hit $5 a gallon at most stations last night. AAA says the national average yesterday hit $4.92 a gallon. States with the highest overnight increase were Michigan at 45 cents. Illinois and Indiana saw 41-cent jumps overnight. In California, check this out, the average is at a staggering $6.34 a gallon average, with one area selling at $9.60 a gallon. Wow. Well, here at home, gas to date ranged from $4.81 to $4.99 across Sussex County, and experts predict that will go up. Check out this graph from AAA that shows how the increase in prices compared to previous years. The difference is shocking. So what's causing this uptick? Well, AAA says it comes down to oil market dynamics, with the price of crude oil jumping $120 a barrel, nearly double the price from August. The Energy Information Administration also reports that total domestic gasoline stocks decreased by 700,000 barrels to 219 million barrels last week. Meanwhile, gasoline demands grew from 8.8 million barrels a day to 8.98 million barrels a day as drivers fueled up for the Memorial Day weekend travel. Well, what a beautiful sunny day it was to get out there if you could afford it with the price of gas right now, but we could be in for some storms. Let's get a preview of your weather forecast with meteorologist Hunter Outen.
With clouds on the increase this afternoon, we are awaiting the arrival of some scattered showers throughout the evening hours. We get a short-term break during the morning hours on Wednesday with a chance of a pop-up thunderstorm in the early afternoon hours from a coastal sea breeze, but a more widespread rain and storm threat exists during the overnight hours Wednesday into Thursday. Now, will any of these storms be of a big concern? I'll let you know when we come back here on TV Delmarva, Channel 14 News. Alrighty, Delmarva, let's get ready to the pinpoint forecast for the overnight hours into the day on Wednesday. Now, we are seeing a little bit of an increase in those clouds as we get throughout the overnight and evening hours. We're going to be looking at mostly cloudy skies, and watch out for some areas of some scattered showers during the overnight hours with a fairly mild night ahead as well. 68 to 74 degrees, and we're still going to be looking at some breezy conditions from the south between 10 and 15 miles per hour with some gusts as high as 25 at times. Take a look at Futurecast rest of the overnight hours into the day on Wednesday. This is 8 o'clock this evening. We're starting to see some scattered showers beginning to move across areas of Delmarva and the Maryland Western Shore, with temperatures falling into the low and mid 70s just after sunset. Going into the Harley overnight hours, we're still going to be looking at some isolated chances of some precipitation across areas of Delmarva. And with the cloud cover in place, we're still going to be keeping temperatures right into the lower 70s with that southerly breeze. But waking up tomorrow morning, still going to be looking at maybe the smallest chance of an isolated shower here and there. We got plenty of cloud cover pretty much for almost all of Delmarva, who may see a little bit of sunshine for the northern areas like in Newark, Wilmington, stretching all the way back towards Frederick, Maryland. But going into the afternoon hours, we're going to be seeing much more in the way of some warmer temperatures, a mixture of some clouds and sunshine. But we'll have to pay kind of closest attention right along the Atlantic coast there in Sussex County and Worcester County. We may see a pop-up thunderstorm here and there right along that sea breeze boundary that begins to meander west and east throughout the afternoon hours, which may lead to some sporadic thunderstorms and some sporadic heavy rainfall as well, with temperatures well into the 80s. Going into the evening hours, though, we're still going to be looking at some fairly warm temperatures, upper 70s to lower 80s, but we're starting to see more of a wave and increase in thunderstorm activity across areas of the western shore of Maryland, and that will continue to move through during the overnight hours, where we're going to be looking at some widespread areas of some thunderstorm activity, and that will continue all the way into Thursday morning with temperatures still into the 70s. Take a look at the Wednesday forecast overall. We got mostly cloudy skies, and watch out for some areas of a pop-up thunderstorm, especially the closer you get towards the Atlantic coast, with a much warmer day as well. 85 to 88 degrees with a southwest wind at about 10 miles per hour. Take a look at the allergy index for your Wednesday. Surprisingly, with thunderstorms in the forecast, we got low levels of pollen, only 2.9 out of 12 on that scale. And the only allergens for this time of year is from grass pollen. Now we're going to switch gears to take a look at the beach forecast for your Wednesday, beginning with the Atlantic. Scattered thunderstorms in the afternoon, 77 degrees, winds from the southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour with seas of 3 to 4 feet. Make sure to keep the sunblock handy as well, even though we're going to be looking at some cloud cover. UV index is still fairly high at about 9. Take a look at the Delaware Bay. Scattered thunderstorms, 77 degrees, winds from the southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour with seas of less than 1 foot expected. And then at Chesapeake Bay, scattered thunderstorms, 83 degrees, winds from the south at about 5 miles per hour. and you can expect under 1 foot seas in the Chesapeake Bay as well. Now, once we get into the overnight hours tomorrow night, we're going to be seeing more of a way of some thunderstorm activity, rounds of thunderstorms with a fairly mild and humid night ahead as well. Overnight lows only getting down to 70 to 74 degrees. We're going to be a little bit breezy at times too within those thunderstorms from the south between 5 and 10 miles per hour. Now from the Storm Prediction Center, pretty much everybody here on the shore except for the very northern extreme portions of Delmarva stretching all the way back towards Westminster, you are under a marginal risk of severe weather. That's a level 1 out of 5 risk, with some of these storms may contain a little bit of some gusty winds here and there, but the overall threat for severe weather is relatively low, and that's not even really the main threat out of these storms for tomorrow night. It's just going to be the abundance of moisture that's in the atmosphere. PWAT values are exceeding 2 inches pretty much the entire mid-Atlantic states, so a lot of these thunderstorms are going to drop a lot of rain fairly quickly, so we might have to watch out for some low-lying flooding concerns going into Thursday morning. And here's some of the forecasted rainfall of the next 48 hours. Now, this is just a generalization of what we could expect here. We could be looking at a ½ inch to a full inch of precipitation with a little bit more for areas that might see those training of thunderstorms. So generally a ½ inch to a full inch under normal circumstances, but we could see some isolated higher amounts within those training thunderstorms. Now let's take a look at that extended outlook, because we still got multiple rain chances for this week. We got it tomorrow, we got it on Thursday. We do get a break on Friday though, but we're still going to be looking at plenty of clouds in the vicinity. Temperatures still holding steady into the 80s. And then we start to see more rain chances overnight Friday into Saturday. Temperatures a little bit cooler, only about 77 for Saturday. And then we finally start to see some drier conditions going into Sunday and Monday and Tuesday of next week. But our temperatures will be holding steady near average in the lower 80s.
Coming up, the metaverse. You've probably heard of it, but what is it? We take a look at a potential billion-dollar industry when we come back. Stay tuned. It's the internet of the future, and it's going to look different than anything you've ever seen before. Business reporter Andy Hirschfeld shows us what the metaverse is all about.
If you follow tech at all, you may have heard about this term, the metaverse. It seems like everyone is touting this new era of consumer technology. But what is it, and why are America's biggest tech giants so excited about it? It's essentially a 3D version of the internet. That's why the terminology around this has been so broad and convoluted. That's because it is a broad topic. Leaders in this space see this as a way to enhance remote work, play video games, and even attend concerts virtually. It's essentially the next wave of the web. First, we got the basics. Text-based communications like email. Then we broadened out in recent years. Now it includes elements like photos and videos. And then we got streaming, where you can watch everything from Netflix to news. So it only ends up that Silicon Valley insiders see this as the logical next step. It's a big business. According to Bloomberg Intelligence, it will be a more than $800 billion industry in only 2 years. However, it doesn't look like everyone got the memo. According to a poll from Morning Consult, a majority of Americans aren't exactly sold on the idea, especially when it comes from the company Meta. That's Facebook's new parent company. And it's been a rough year for them. The Silicon Valley tech giant misread consumer interest and is losing money because of it. This year, the company reported its first ever quarterly loss. This also comes with a hefty price tag for consumers. The internet is increasingly becoming an unavoidable necessity for work and school, and that became especially clear during the pandemic, and it's expensive. That's in part why some of America's largest cities still have what are called digital deserts. According to the FCC, pre-pandemic, more than 20 million people lived without access to high-speed internet. There are more than 7.5 million households that don't even have access, even if they could afford it. That's highest in cities like Cleveland and Philadelphia. And in Detroit, roughly 40% don't have access. In New York, it's 500,000 people. The next era of the internet raises these financial burdens even further. For access, you need hardware like Facebook's Oculus Quest, which can run you $300. Or the Valve Index, that's close to $1,000. That's money a lot of Americans just don't have at their disposal. With inflation woes, that's only getting worse. In New York, I'm Andy Hirschfeld.
Weather Classroom is sponsored by No Nonsense Office Machines. committed to providing quality products and services with over 15 years of experience here in Sussex County. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, today's weather lesson we will be talking about the differences between flood advisories, watches, and warnings. We have 4 different categories for this, so let's begin with flood advisories, which means be aware. A flood advisory is issued when a specific weather event that is forecast to occur may become a nuisance. A flood advisory is issued when flooding is not expected to be bad enough to issue a warning, however, it may cause a significant inconvenience. And if caution is not exercised, it could lead to situations that may threaten life and/or property. Now we have flood watches, which means be prepared. A flood watch is issued when conditions are favorable for a specific hazardous weather event to occur. A flood watch is issued when conditions are favorable for flooding, but it does not mean flooding will occur, but it's a good possibility that the forecast suggests that flooding may be an issue. Then we got flood warnings, which means take action. A flood warning is issued when the hazardous weather event is imminent or already happening. A flood warning is issued when flooding is imminent or is occurring at this time. And then finally we have flash flood warnings, which also means take action. A flash flood warning is issued when a flash flood is imminent or occurring, and if you are in a flood-prone area, move immediately to high ground. A flash flood is a sudden, violent flood that can take from minutes to hours to develop, and it's even possible to experience a flash flood in areas not receiving rainfall at all, but just happen to be downstream from a river or a creek.
Well, with some storms in the forecast, let's get one last check of the weather with Hunter.
Well, Jonathan, we just have to endure a couple more days of that stormy and dreary conditions until at least the second half of the weekend before we get some drier weather ahead. But hey, at least the good news is we're not looking at seeing overly oppressive temperatures or those very chilly ones that we've seen just like last month. We are right where we should be for this time of year and looking to be sticking around for the next week or two.
Thank you, Hunter, and thank you for tuning in to TV Delmarva, Channel 14 News. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook at TV Delmarva and our website, tvdelmarva.com, for real-time news and updates throughout the day. I'm Jonathan Mistrot reporting. Have a good evening.